So hurricane season starts on Thursday, and we've already got this one system down in the Gulf that we've had an eye on for a couple of days now. It's an area of low pressure that has developed off the coast of Florida, and it's spinning out there, but the upper level conditions for this thing are really, really harsh. You can see the low level circulation here, but really what's going on throughout a pretty big depth of this is that there's this thing called an upper air low spinning right about here as well, and it's sending the jet stream out in all directions like that. So that's why you end up with this big area of thunderstorms near the Florida Gulf Coast like this, over Tampa and over West Florida. And then the northern side of this, you got some rain coming into the Florida Panhandle as well as South Alabama, but it's not all that significant. Along the Alabama and northwest Florida Gulf Coast, though, we've got an onshore flow right now. And when the wind is coming onshore like this, it often leads to higher waves and, of course, rip currents. And this is a scene from earlier today from Eddie Matthews. And Eddie took this video. Look how much bigger the waves have gotten. Rip currents are starting to get a little bit more significant. And it looks like as we go through the rest of this day and into potentially tomorrow too, a lot of places are going to be seeing more of the same with this. So the rip current risk fairly high along the Alabama and Florida Gulf Coast going through Thursday and Friday. It starts to lessen some this weekend, mainly because the wind starts to shift to the north. So expect a little bit more in the way of surf for Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday it's not quite as significant. So here's the latest on this thing from the National Hurricane Center. It's not really expected to develop, although there is that small chance that it could briefly become a tropical depression. I think it's just going to kind of spin in the southern Gulf of Mexico, central and southern Gulf of Mexico, not really changing the weather around here all that much going through the rest of the week. But I do think at least on Thursday, there may be a little better chance of some downpours in that zone. And then by Friday, we're starting to feel the effect of that north wind just kind of crushing everything down toward the Gulf Coast and leaving most of us dry. So the official forecast starting June 1st, 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, potentially 3 major hurricanes. It all depends on where they happen. There are 3 things you can usually count on with an El Nino year here in the Gulf Coast region. Storms typically develop closer to the coast. We have a little bit less lead time on them, and typically they're not the higher end Michaels or Ians or Katrinas. It can happen. Sometimes we can have big seasons with El Nino years. Most of the time, they're a little bit more suppressed, and most of the action's way out in the Atlantic. So, of course, as always, we'll keep you posted on that. But the weather around central Alabama, North Alabama, not really being impacted by this whatsoever here in the next few days. In fact, our 7-day forecast looks like that. Going to be a hot one.